Alright, welcome everyone to Season 3. So, Season 3, I've already taken a look at most of the stuff and it's very cool shit. So first of all, let's talk about Dispensary shit. So, first off, your Season 2 stuff will be dispensable now. So immediately go here first and then pop all of your shards and then get your Isa. If you don't have enough, then just slowly grind, it's okay. No rush, but it is one of the best egos. And then for announcers, right, you have to use paid lunacy. There's no other way to get the announcers. For all of these guys, you can use shards or you can use paid lunacy. So very nice. At least you can get all of the previous ones as long as you use your lunacy. And then there will be this Bon Voyage one, which represents Season 3. So for Season 3, we got 2 new units here. Twin Hook Pirates as well as Ryoshu. LCCB Ryoshu. So very surprisingly, right, the pirate version of Gregor is actually quite good. It has good coinage as long as you have bleed on the target, and then he has a bonus of poise, which gives him a bit more damage. So this is actually a pretty fun application of poise. So if you look at your skill 1 here, you got negotiation start. You gain 3 poise, and if the target is 7 plus bleed, you gain coin power plus 1. So that's plus 4 and then 4. So that's 12 in total. And then on hit you gain plus 1 poise, on crit you inflict bleed potency, on crit you inflict bleed potency. So the idea here is you don't crit on this actually, because there are much better moves to be critting on, and you get 3 poise here, and on hit you get plus 1 poise count. Going to skill 2, we got unilateral business, which is 4, then plus 6, and you gain plus 1 coin power for every 7 bleed, making this into a very good move. So if you can get up to 14, you are getting 8, 16, 22. 22 on your skill 2 is very good, especially when you consider this unit has poise slapped on top of him as well. So it's a good unit with poise slapped on top, which makes it into a very good unit, and you have 50% damage on crit hit on your skill 2 as well. So this is actually very good for a unit. And then on hit you gain 4 poise, on crit you inflict 2 bleed, on hit you inflict 3 bleed, on crit you inflict 2 bleed. And if you can crit, you get additional damage on your critical hit here, which is quite good, because your coinage in the first place was already going to be very good because you are getting this bleed potency scaling on your skill 2. In other words, what this character needs is bleed count as well as bleed potency applied. Thankfully, this character does apply a decent amount of bleed as long as he crits as well. So there's some very good poise bleed synergy here. If you look at your skill 3, you get Foregone Conclusion, which is plus 6, plus 5. So 12 plus 5, 17. 17 is actually really strong. And then if you look here, you also gain 1 poise for every 3 bleed on your target. So this skill here is where you can get a bunch of your poise, because you are able to get as much poise as you want, as long as you have 30 plus bleed. So you need like 30 bleed in order to get the max here, and that will give you 10 poise. So if you can stack your bleeds to an incredible level, this character will gain a bunch of poise to an incredible level. And then after he gains this poise amount, he will be able to gain coin power plus 1 for every 7 poise on himself. Even just 1 makes his skill into very good. It becomes 7, 14, 14 plus 5. 14 plus 5 is about 19. 19 on your skill 3 is already very nice. And after that, you get even more if you can get even more poise on yourself. That is the tricky part though for this character, gaining more poise on yourself. So, because you might randomly crit on any one of your skill 1s or skill 2s, right, it's a bit tricky to always get the maximum amount of poise on this one. So, because of that, you might have to use your skill 3 a few times in order to get a crap ton of poise. But this skill 3 here has inflict bleed count if you crit here, and if you spend 1 ammo here to do this move, and you get plus 100% damage on the crit hit, and on kill you gain plus 1 coin boost. I admit that because it's on your second coin is not super reliable, because the thing about crits, right, is that if you crit on your first one here, you get something, but then you might not be able to crit on your second one, in which case you will not get this big damage here. So being stuck on the second coin here for the 100% damage kind of sucks, unless this actually applies to all. I'm not sure if it applies to all. I think because it's on the second coin here, it probably just buffs this, in which case this is not a super great poise move, because it means that if you crit here, at least you get something, but you will not be able to get the big one here. And I mean, plus 1 coin boost is still super powerful, right? So ultimately you want to use this as your finisher for every fight. So if you're fighting a lot of ads, using this guy as your finisher, really good. Then we go to the defense, 4 plus 10. 4 plus 10, take a breather, 14. On evasion, you gain 1 poise, max of 5 per turn. So this is actually not terrible. It's a pretty good coinage for a dodge. And you also gain poise, which will allow you to get even more coin power on your skill tree. So it's not terrible, but it's not something you want to be doing either, because your coins are already pretty damn good as long as they are bleed on the target. So essentially these characters 1 and 2 here is using his hooks. As long as the target has bleed, you will be able to get additional coin power, making for very good clashing, because if you can get max here, you pretty much have 8, 16, 16 plus 4, 22. 22 on your skill 2 is already phenomenal, as long as you can apply the bleed onto the guy. And then while you're doing that, you're also getting poise, and then your skill tree here is meant to dump your poise. So ideally you do not want to crit here or here. But if you crit here, it's no problem, because you will still get some value, and then of course you will try to dump it here to get that big damage here. So it might be a little bit inconsistent, but at least you're getting something whenever you crit on something else. So they're kind of like padding the fact that if you don't crit on the right move, you don't get anything. But on this character, if you crit on the not so good move, you're at least getting something. So it's a decent first step, but it's not particularly super good for the character that wants to try to fish for a crit on their skill 2. Right, I mean on their coin 2. Anyway, going back to the passive. So this character actually has ammo, so you can use your skill tree pretty much 7 times, which doesn't really matter in the context of like any boss fight, because all boss fights end within 6 turns or 5 turns. So pretty much having 7 ammo here just guarantees that you will be able to end the fight with a bunch of skill trees. And even then, you probably won't ever spam your skill tree, because you still have to cycle through your skill 1, skill 2s and whatnot. So 7 is already overkill for this character. On hit against target with bleed. So this is some extra bonus shit that you can get, because pretty much this whole design is use your skill 1s and skill 2s to get more value, right? To apply bleed, to gain poise, so that your skill tree dumps your poise. And then your passive is also that same mechanic. On hit against target with bleed, which is about your skill 1 and skill 2, right? Because you're always using those to hit with bleed, you will gain your unjust enrichment. And this gives you additional stacks of like basically these coins. And then if a coin that uses ammo hits, which is your skill tree, you consume all of it, and then you deal 25 times the amount consumed % of damage dealt as bonus damage. So if you have 4 stacks, you basically just consumed 100, you just deal, and you consume your ammo, you deal 100% of the damage dealt as bonus damage. Yeah, so that is a lot of damage if you crit, because you get 100% here as well. So that is a lot of value. And if this unit crits when out of ammo, you consume and only deal 5 times. So you do need to have ammo, which is not a problem, like I said before. So this character will always be able to dump his ammo, dump his poise, and hopefully crit on the second skill. And if that happens, then he will be able to consume all of this and then deal 100% of damage as bonus damage. So your whole playstyle with this character is use skill 1 into skill 2, or just use skill 2 anytime you get it, so that you can just stack up that poise on your character, and ideally you try not to crit as much as possible on your skill 1, skill 2. You have no control of this, so whatever. And then at the end, use your skill tree to dump it, and hopefully by then you have gathered enough unjust enrichment from using your skill 1s and skill 2s, because you have 2 coins here and 2 coins here, so ideally 1 and 2 here will be able to give you enough of the enrichment. And then use skill tree to dump it, and then you hope that you get your crit here, and then you also dump here to get a bunch of extra damage. So this character is really cool design. You move really fast, you have pretty much DPS stats, you have very good coins, and you have crit stats on you, and you also have some extra crit damage lines here, pretty much like a Yisang or a Rodion. And then you also have an on-kill plus coin boost, and then you also have very good synergy altogether. So I really like this character. This character is very well designed, and I like how they're slapping good coins onto a character and then putting poise on top of you. Because if you do that right, then your character is definitely good. A good character with good coins, with poise on top of you, is a good character. And then they also slap on a cool mechanic where you want to just be hitting enemies with bleed on your skill 1 and skill 2, so that you can dump your skill tree in order to get more damage on top of whatever more damage you're getting from crits on this skill tree here. So that is really good. So there's something to do with your skill 1, skill 2. If you crit on the wrong coin, you get something, and then your skill tree is meant to be where you dump all of your poise and pray for a crit on your skill tree. So overall, this character is very good design, very good coins, very good Gregor. I think he actually is going to be our first true DPS Gregor right now. Technically, you can say G Gregor would be a very good DPS as well. I think you do need to try to win with a pretty sussy move, Hack. Hack is rolls 10, right? And you also need Rupture to make him a little bit better, and he's not a very good Rupture character because he doesn't replenish Rupture count, so a bit tricky to use. So I think Pirate Gregor is actually going to be our first generic DPS that's actually really strong. So thankfully that's a good news for Gregor, because the others, well, I guess Zoa is a pretty good DPS, but yeah, I don't know. This is the full-fledged DPS, like statted like a DPS, not a tank, not anything else, just straight up good DPS from this guy. So congratulations, Gregor, you got your first DPS ID, like purely designed as a DPS ID. And then we got Ryoshu, and Ryoshu is a funny character when I looked at her. So first off, unlike her other counterpart, LCCB Ishmael, she goes fast. She has 4 to 7 speed, but she's also tank statted. So she has 180 HP and 40 defense. And then she is a poise character as well, very similar to Gregor. But it's not really like Gregor in any way, because her coins are actual dog shit. If you look at this, it's 5 plus 5 is 10. And then if you get 7 poise, you gain coin power plus 1. And that will make you into a normal character. So if you get plus 1, you get 6. So that 5 plus 6, that's 11, that's normal. That's like average, right? So you need to get 7 plus poise potency on yourself to get coin power plus 1. And remember this, okay? Remember this part. Going to skill 2, TN. At 7 plus poise, you gain coin power plus 1. Again, right? But then look at the poise gain. You gain 2 poise on 1, and then gain 1 poise on 2. Like, it's 3 poise. It's 3 poise, okay? So you gain 3 poise using skill 2. And if you don't have poise, what happens is that Ryoshu here gets plus 5, plus 5, plus 4, which is 14. 14 on skill 2 is bad, real bad, compared to a lot of others. 16 is pretty much my default for a lot of characters, and you're already below average. And you need to get this coin power plus 1 to become average, because 6, 12, 12 plus 4, 12 plus 4 is 16. Yeah, that is not great, man. That is not great. Going back to skill 3, on use you gain 4 poise, then you gain plus 1 coin power for every 7 poise on yourself. So you can get additional 4 poise here, right? But then there's no other poise potency. Like, if you look everywhere else, right, there is no other poise potency. Not even on the guard, there is no poise potency. And then the passive here is pretty much, if this unit already has max SP and you have 7 plus poise, you gain 1 poise next turn. That's the only other way to get poise. So this character has some pretty shit poise generation and doesn't really do anything for you. So yeah, I mean, sure, you can on-crit offense level. No one really gives a shit about offense level, let's be real here. Everyone wants defense level down or fragility on their characters, or at least something to do with a status. If not, you're not very interesting. So this is just kind of dog shit. So another pretty mediocre move, you need 7 plus poise, and the only way you're getting that is you skill 2 twice and you don't crit on any of this. And then the other way is pretty much using your skill 3, and then hopefully you didn't crit, because I don't think you'll be able to get back your poise count if you do crit. Right. And skill 3 is OOF, which is really funny as an acronym, OOF. Plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, plus 4. And that is 3, 6, 9, 9 plus 4, 13. 13 is really bad. Plus 1 coin power, 4, 8, 12, 16. So that does make you into a pretty okay. All you need is 7 poise. But like I said, you always have problems with that. Ideally, you do skill 2 into skill 3, that gives you 7 poise, right? Because you are able to get that. But then if you crit on one of these by accident, oof. Right, so oof, actually. The funny thing about oof, right? Because all LCCBs have something interesting on their skill 3, is that this girl here spends 1 ammo to double the application of Tremor and Rupture potency and count. So this is huge reward. This is a humongous reward, because doubling of these statuses is really, really strong. But on hit, And then on hit, right, if you were to get this crit, you also apply Tremor and then Tremor count, and then Rupture count, and then you also burst Tremor. So overall, this character has a really good skill tree here, applies pretty much the same values as an LCCB Ishmael, but LCCB Ishmael applies it like midway. She does like a 4-hit combo, and she is shooting this thing like in the middle, which means that you won't get all of that Rupture count. LCCB Ryoshu shoots it at the end, which means you get all of it, which means that at the end, after she has consumed all of your Tremor and Rupture, she will double whatever's left, and then she will go and apply more to replace what she's replaced. But if you consume all of it, then it kind of sucks. But it's a very cool thing. The problem is you must crit on the skill tree, and if you're going through 1 and 2 here, you're probably not going to get that crit. So this is kind of a wishful thinking moment here. If it happens, huge. If it doesn't happen, wow, that is shit. So overall, this character just feels so mediocre. You start 7 bullets, by the way, and you only use 1 ammo here, I'm pretty sure. You do not use your ammo anywhere else. So it looks like you're going to use your blunt end of your shotgun here, you're going to swing with the back end of your shotgun here, and then you're going to actually use your shotgun on your skill tree and only on the 3rd coin. Which is good. It means that you'll be able to use your skill tree a lot of times, up to 7 times, right? So that's not really a problem. The problem I have with this character is how the hell are you going to get the poise? You need some kind of support character to give you poise. Otherwise, realistically, you're never going to get this on crit part here. You're going to be fishing for crits on your 3rd coin here. I mean, the on crit effect here, like, pretty much is the same design as Gregor, where even if you lose like the crit on your skill tree, which is the biggest value, you at least get something, right? But the something is just 1 poise count. Like, that is not worth it. Getting the crit here is just a super feels bad no matter what. This is not worth it at all. So LCCB Ryoshu just feels like a really shitty unit. And only can be used for that skill tree. You pretty much have below average clashing here. You're not really a tank, although you are statted like one. So you can't really generate aggro on your shove or whatever like Ishmael. So besides that, right, you pretty much only exist for the skill tree. Like, skill 1 and skill 2 pretty much build up for skill 3. Which kind of sucks. Because LCCB Ishmael at least has something to do with a skill 2. Because the skill 2 applies good shit on hit. And then for this character here, you only get the good shit on your skill tree. So yeah, you pretty much only exist to use skill tree, and hopefully you have built up enough crit to maybe crit on your 3rd coin before you crit on your 1st and 2nd coins to apply this bonus here. So it's really a hyper gambler move. You either get this huge thing or you get some garbage here, and then you have to build it back up for your next skill tree, which will delay your fun part by a lot. So because of that, I think she's quite mediocre and really not a match compared to all of the other Ryoshus. I think that she is okay into any Tremor or Rupture comp, because then she can be run alongside Ishmael, right? But okay, Ishmael has a lot of competition nowadays. She has to run with Molar probably for a lot of these Tremor comps, because Molar is a really good Tremor count applier. But besides Molar applying Tremor count, you also have like no other Rupture source except like sloshing Ishmael. So for Ishmael, I don't know. There seems to be a lot of competition for Ishmael. So I really... I don't know. LCCB Ishmael is always fighting against all the other Ishmaels, so it's a bit hard. But Ryoshu, if you want to find a Tremor or Rupture Ryoshu, this is probably the only one you're gonna get. But at the same time, she's so mediocre, I don't think I ever want to recommend anyone go and get her. So I would not ever get her. Like, if you pull Walpurgis Knight and then you accidentally get her, then good for you. But I would never get this character, like, straight up. Because she doesn't do anything interesting. She is very RNG heavy, and she is not very consistent, and she has below average coins. So because of all of that, I don't think she's actually useful at all. She doesn't even generate aggro. If she generates aggro, at least she will have something to do, you know. But right now with a kit, right, you pretty much want to dedicate your whole kit to trying to get that skill tree to crit, and it's just not worth it. Even though the value is super huge, right? It's just a super gambling move. I don't know, it's just really bad. I think maybe only usable in Mirror Dungeon if you can find something to give you some more poise count, so that you will be able to try to crit on your skill tree. So that's the only situation, I think, where she will actually function. If it's not Mirror Dungeon 2, then don't bring her along. Like, she's just really bad. Like, really, really bad. Right. So the last part to talk about is, of course, the controls for Season 3. So your keyboard shortcut the most important things to note after all of this, right, in case you don't want to go and read it yourself, is that your P button is your win rate button now. So you can press P in order to start the fight. Basically, you just press P and then you press enter, and enter will trigger whatever happens. So you press P and then enter, and then that's pretty much all you need to know. Spacebar can stop the fight in the middle, so if you want to go and see the coins or you want to go and read the enemy skill, you can just press spacebar in the middle of a fight. And then after that, besides that, you can also press spacebar to now skip dialogue. So you can just press spacebar in order to just make your dialogue fully load, and then you can press spacebar to also go to the next dialogue. So pretty much your multi-purpose tool will be your spacebar, your P and your enter will be your favorite buttons, and pretty much everything else here is really whatever. You do not need to know the rest. Right, so that really is it. Season 3 is already looking really nice. Our starting IDs are already pretty damn decent with Gregor, and we don't talk about her. And then of course announcers, if you want the old ones like Yuri, you will need to pay your lunacy. Right, so besides that, nothing else to say really. Banner is pretty okay. Maybe for some of the newcomers, right, Grippy is out. So if you want, I do recommend getting Grippy, because Grippy does give you access to a lot of interesting strats where you just apply gaze and then you just ooga boonga with all of your other units. So you want blunt damage and you want pierce damage to pair with your gaze character, and as much as possible you try to set up next turn for a big gaze turn, because gaze is applied next turn, which is already very good. It means that everyone attacking that turn will be able to get a bunch of damage. Gaze is useful in some fights and not so useful in some fights, so you do need to still time it. And then besides Grippy Faust, 7 Association Faust is also really good if you want to try Rupture Gang. So these are the 2 characters that I do recommend sparking. And like I said, the 2-star characters for Faust, right, it's because Fluid Sac Faust is back. So if you are going to get Fluid Sac Faust, remember to go and get that if you don't have that, because Fluid Sac Faust has been a game changer ever since her release. So if you are going to try to choose between all of the Fausts, right, I would not recommend a 2-star, because to uptie a 2-star is a lot of resources, and I don't think a new player can actually afford that. So you might as well choose between Gaze and then Fluid Sac Faust, and I will highly recommend Fluid Sac Faust first, and then you go and get your Gaze debuff, because Gaze debuff is just a game changer for a lot of fights. And then pretty much everything else here, you don't get it yet. Then once you get those 2, you can choose to get whatever the hell you want at that point. If you want Mirror Dungeon 2 hard, a decent 2-star ID, then you can get Lobotomy Corp Faust, because she is very very good as a 2-star ID for MD2 hard. But you also don't need that, because I can clear it perfectly fine without taking my LCB Faust. I can just take my Shi Ishmael, I can take my Shidon, I can take my Hooklu, and that is pretty much the three 2-stars that I'll need for the start of MD2 hard, and that is enough to clear the entire MD2 hard. So really not a problem for any character. Right. And then pretty much if you need to know what units to go and spark for this season, you can just go and look at the previous videos that I've made. I already talked about what units I recommend for new players, and for old players you can go and do whatever the hell you want, because you probably have billions of lunacy and billions of shards. So no problem. This game is really F2P. You can just grind and grind and grind and you'll be able to get whatever the hell you want. So really no problems in whether you're going to get a unit or not. Except maybe Walpurgis Knight, but Walpurgis Knight still lets you go and spark them anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Right. So that will be the end of this part of the video. I will separately record the story myself, and then we can go and take a look at the story later. Yep. So first off, I hope you all get all the units that you want from all of these banners. If you are going to pull on them, I would not recommend ever pulling on any banner nowadays because of Walpurgis Knight. But I think that Gregor here is actually a very solid addition to Poise, and it's looking quite fun. But right now, since it's just the start of the season, I wouldn't prioritize anything right now. So if you are going to pull just because you like Pirate Gregor, then feel free to go and pull Pirate Gregor. If you don't want to, then yeah, just save. And then of course, farming for your shards, remember to go and spark for some of the best egos in the game. I already sparked for my Sun Shower Yisang, that's why it's not here. And then remember to go and spark for whatever Season 1 stuff that you did not get. For example, your Fluid Sac Faust, and I don't know, maybe Legend Domain or something. I guess Evening Stem was also a pretty good one to go and get, yeah. Pretty much if you want any recommendations, you can go and refer to all my old videos. I already talked about what stuff I recommend. So yeah. Good luck grinding all of this, good luck pulling all of this, and then yeah, I hope you guys enjoy your new keybinds, and yeah, that's it.